Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I have 6 board members on so far. So we need just a few more.
Okay. Did you get more confirmation or are we expecting a quorum?
Checking right now, Chris. Hold on. I don't think very many people RSVP'd. I usually don't have you RSVP. But let me run down some text messages quickly.
Okay. So were they closed today? Like you're
No, I'd called Shannon. She's like, yeah, we're good. She's like,
Now we have a quorum. Excluded Mary Catherine. We have Kirk. And we have James. So if you would like to get us going, Chris, you are more than welcome. Are you there, Chris? Oh. Don't see Chris on here now. All right, wait 1 second for our leader to get on, or Todd, do you want to get us started here? Since you're next in line,
All right.
and then we'll have Chris jump back in as soon as he's back.
Okay, so we do have a quorum for the Jefferson County Development Authority Board of Directors meeting on Tuesday, January 16th, 2024, 3 p.m. Is there any public comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick comment. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, a big thank you to the staff for putting the agenda packets up so that we can read them. I really appreciate that. I hope it's not a lot of work to separate the sensitive stuff from the public stuff, but it's greatly appreciated. And then I also wanted to thank you all for the PSC letter on maintaining net metering. That's really important to me, and I think it's a really good economic development thing for our solar businesses. So that's all. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Diane. Next up, introduction of the new county commission representative, Commissioner Pasha Majdi. Did I say that right?
So I'm going to introduce you. I have two in my office today. So they're a little hard to see all of us in there.
Mary Catherine.
But here is Commissioner Majdi. He has, a lot of people had questions about why we were removing Steve from the JCDA, and we aren't. Every year, the commission decides who will sit on our board, and this year they just decided it was Commissioner Majdi. So do you want to give a quick introduction of who you are?
Hi, everyone. I just joined the county commission. I've lived in the area for 5 years. Love Jefferson County. I think it's ascending. I think it's already a beautiful, wonderful place to live. And our big challenge over the next couple of decades will be how do we grow while also maintaining that high quality of living, that high standard of living. And I think this board has a great deal to do with that. That's why I'm so excited to engage with you and to join this board.
Well, welcome to the board, and I hope we have some fun with you. Up next is a presentation by Chris Colville and Tom Klingman on the why.
So just to tee this up, to give you some background, when I first came on, I did an interview with most of the leaders in the community and tried to find out what the needs were. And they told me some of the big needs were a pool. You may have heard about that. That's a big one in the county. There's a pool. Access to childcare is a huge one that we talked about, especially within the business community and trying to find and retain and grow workforce. After school programs was a big one to keep kids out of trouble. And then activities and services that would allow seniors to age in place. And when I hear that, what I immediately hear is the why. The why is the largest provider of childcare in the country, the largest manager of pools in the world. And then they are known for many of these after school and senior programs. It's not just something Eddie was thinking about. Also, WVU was very interested in this. And so they had reached out to the Y nationally to find out what it would take to bring a Y to the Eastern Panhandle. And the nationwide office said, well, it's in the jurisdiction of the city of Frederick County, city of Frederick, Maryland's Y. And so partner with them. And so WVU and the Y partnered together to conduct a feasibility study to see if there was a business case, if you could make a Y work in the Eastern Panhandle. And they looked to extend the Y that's in the city of Frederick to Jefferson, Berkeley, or both, looking at childcare, a pool, and possibly health and wellness. And that study is now nearly complete. So they did the study part and all the results are nearly complete. And so I'm really glad to have Chris and Tom on the call to kind of give us some more information on maybe what direction they're looking at, if Jefferson looks like a good place to locate. And then to give you a bit of a background, we've been running them all over the county. You may know that we passed a resolution at our board. The school board passed a similar resolution, and all 5 municipalities passed a resolution supporting the expansion of the Y to Jefferson County. In addition to that, the Y has met with stakeholders at all levels and followed up with all of those municipalities and has joined the Chamber of Commerce and has presented to the Rotaries. And so you probably have seen them all over the place besides just our board. So Tom and Chris, I'll leave it to you.
Hey, thanks, Eddie. So Eddie did a great job giving you guys the background, kind of leading up to where we are today or where we are in the process. I guess I'll just kind of update you on that. We did complete a study in collaboration with West Virginia University. I actually have a meeting scheduled on Monday, a third follow-up meeting to include West Virginia Hospital key personnel, as well as our consultant who's based out of Atlanta. The full study is done. We got it right towards the end of Christmas, right before the new year. And I've circled back with the hospital once without our consultant. Now we're going to circle with everybody and kind of go over that. It's very, very, very promising. It basically says that a YMCA could be supported by the communities in either Jefferson, Berkeley, and or both. So one part of the study recommends a certain size facility, approximately a 68,000 square foot facility, could be supported within Jefferson County, along with licensed childcare programs throughout the county. And then it also says that we might be able to sustain at the same time of doing something in Jefferson County, about a 48 or 50,000 square foot facility in Berkeley County, along with childcare. So Jefferson County, ironically, says in the study that it would support a larger Y with a little bit less childcare, and then Berkeley County would say it would support a slightly smaller facility, but with twice as much childcare. So we thought that was kind of fascinating. So to Eddie's point, we have met with pretty much most of the mayors in Jefferson County, the municipalities. We have met with representatives from the school board, representatives from the high school, representatives from swim parents. We've met with Parks and Recreation directors. We've met with elected officials. So one of the steps, the next steps is really sitting down after our meeting with the hospital next Monday and circling back with the stakeholders, and basically saying, hey, look, this is probably going to happen. We're crunching some numbers. We're basically running some of this data through our certain YMCA templates to see if we can make the math work. That's really, it becomes a math game. And then also to determine if we have the capacity to raise the funds or secure the funds necessary to build up 50,000. Let's just use 50,000 square feet for easy math. So if it's a $300 square foot cost and it's a 50,000 square foot facility, you're talking about a $15 million project. If it's $400 a square foot, if it's $500 a square foot, it's 20 million to 25 million. So the other thing that we're doing behind the scenes is working with experts that we work with, architects that have, been involved in YMCA projects across the country. They're actually sending a representative on Friday. He's going to meet with my facilities guy, and they're going to look at a couple facilities as it relates specifically to childcare. And they're going to help us take the information out of the study and basically right size it. So the individual that did the study is not an architect. And so while she looks at the specific program information that came back in the study, people want whether it's cooking classes or they want childcare, or they want arts and humanities, whatever it might be, she tends to put some square footage to some program space and then comes up with a total square footage for the facility. Hence, that's why she has 68,000 square feet for one facility and 48,000 for the other facility. So what we're doing is working with our experts that do this for a living every day and saying, okay, if we know that we need to do all these different types of services and programs based on the study, and this is what people are saying that they will participate in, what they said that they are willing to pay for, how far they're willing to drive, all of that information, let's right size the space so that we can finish crunching some numbers. So ideally, what the hospital wants to do probably sometime after next week is start circling the wagons again with the stakeholders and saying, hey, look, we're looking at whatever it might be. Let's say we end up landing on I'm just making this up, but a 54,000 square foot facility is what we decide is right sized, or maybe it's a replica of what we did in Urbana. So let's say it's 62,000 square feet. Running the math and then going back to the individual stakeholders, whether it's the school district, whether it's the Parks and Recreation, and saying to them, look, you said you had a need, you said you had an interest, you said that you would support the Y, you said you think the Y is a good idea, but how much is that worth to you? Like, are you able to help support and bring any capital dollars to the project in order to gain access or buy access for your students, or to gain or buy access for the general community for swimming or something like that? And so those are some of the deeper conversations that we're going to have probably over the next month and a half to see how the financial plan kind of flushes out. So we end up putting together kind of a operating budget pro forma, so we know what it's going to take to be sustainable, and then we have to put a capital budget together and identify what the source and where the source and use of funds are going to be coming from. I will tell you in the interim, because that could take a couple months, to get all the funding in place and to line up all the stakeholders and bring everybody truly to the table. And if there's a gap number, then we have to decide, well, who's borrowing the money? Is the hospital borrowing the money? Is the Y borrowing the money? How are we going to make this facility a reality? The likelihood is, I would say that we're probably leaning towards creating a full facility in Jefferson County first over Berkeley County. That's kind of my preference and probably my recommendation based on how things are flushing out. However, we have I see the big smiles. We have no presence right now in either one of those counties. And so to go from 0 to 60 is really kind of a big leap of faith. And so with that, we know that even just, coming up with architectural plans, going out to bid, doing the actual physical construction, finalizing the funding, that's probably 2 years, easily. It's probably 12 to 14 months of construction. It's probably 3 months or so of finalizing the actual plans, and then, doing those kinds of things. So what do we do between now and then? We know there's an immediate need for childcare and some other programs and services. So again, following up and going back to the stakeholders, we're going to follow up conversations with the city of Ransom. We're going to follow up conversations with the school district. We're going to follow up conversations with, we've been working with Shepherd University. So in the interim, so to speak, what is it that we can do to establish a presence, and how do we create some credibility in terms of what we can bring to the table programmatically in Jefferson County and or Berkeley County? So Shepherd University, I'll use them as an example, hot and heavy. They want us on their campus for childcare. They have a building that's not being used, the old dining hall. We've looked at it. We bring an architect to look at it on Friday. And we think we can turn that into a childcare center pretty quickly without a huge capital investment. So we could be up and running, hopefully by mid-spring. City of Ransom met and toured several facilities with several representatives, including the Mayor Duke. After our initial conversation with him, he's basically showed us 3 properties, one of which is a empty retail space in the city of Ransom. It's actually in the same complex that the Chamber of Commerce is in. And he's offered up that facility. to use for the Y for free. We would cover tenant improvements and obviously cover utilities, but we're thinking we could create a childcare center on the upper level and maybe do an express Y on the lower level. And then the Civic Center, we could probably do some joint programming with the Parks and Recreation Department. And then he's got another facility with the sports field located behind Home Depot that we think we could also use for arts and humanities, some teens, and maybe even some sport camps. And then in Berkeley County, not that you're really interested in that necessarily, but we did look at an old Walmart space for childcare, and we did look and tour last week a school that is for sale. That we think if we can afford and find funding for the school, which I think we might have identified some funding, we might be able to purchase that building and actually be in the childcare business in Berkeley County by mid-spring as well. So I think there's just a lot of really positive stuff that's coming out of this. There's some follow-up conversations we have to follow up with Parks and Recreation. We know that they're working on some aquatic studies. Both of the Parks and Recreation departments in both of the counties. We need to find out what were the results of that. What did that say? What are they leaning towards? As an example, both Parks and Recreation departments, specifically Jefferson County, have stated they know they need to offer swimming and aquatics programs in Jefferson County, but they really don't want to build a pool. They don't really want to fix the pools they have, and they really don't want to operate any facilities moving forward that are pool related. So because that's one of the core areas of business that we do, if they have capital dollars to repair what they currently have and or have capital dollars to build something new for Jefferson County, could they take those funds and come and partner with the Y and put that towards the facility that we're proposing to potentially build in Jefferson County, and therefore it's a win-win situation for everybody. We end up being in the operating business, which is not really my favorite thing either, because it is a very expensive piece of the puzzle if you just look at the aquatics piece, but it becomes a win-win situation for the county because we can do it a lot less expensive than the school districts, than the county, than the city government, and Parks and Recreation. So those are kind of what the next level of research is going to involve, if that makes sense. And with that, I'll shut up for a few minutes and see, Eddie, if you guys have any questions or anything else I might be able to answer, or something that maybe you hoped I would mention that I didn't.
Any questions? All right, well, Chris and Tom, thank you so much for joining the call. We are very excited about the possibility of having you in Jefferson County. So you hear in the background back here. So we're very excited.
All right, well, after next week, after any of the meetings that we have in I'm actually in Virginia, so I'm out of the office this week, but I'm sending people in my place to keep the conversations moving. So after they visit some of the locations on Friday, and then after we circle the wagons with the hospital after next Monday, if anything significant comes out of those discussions, I'll give you a shout, Eddie, or shoot you an email or something if we have to connect for whatever reason. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for inviting us. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right. Out there. Okay. Bye.
Well, that was pretty cool. Did I see Chris? I guess
Chris did join and then he's off again. So
Okay.
he may have some connection issues.
All right,
So
so
keep rolling, Tom.
audit presentation by Ferrari and Associates PLLC.
Hello all. I'm a little under the weather, but I'll try and make this quick. Did anyone have any questions on the financial statements that were presented? Clearly the big things, the audit opinion, which starts on page actual 2 or page 4 of 21 of the PDF, basically goes through some of the procedures, and basically you got an unqualified opinion, which means that everything presented fairly, which is the good news, which is what you want. And then to skip all the way to the end, there were no findings. So we do some internal control sort of stuff. And the debate we go back and forth with is should there be segregation of duties? And with the simplicity of the transactions and the oversight, we feel like duties are segregated because there's so much oversight, but that it's kind of, that could be one that you could have, but we decided not to have that finding.
Can you explain what segregation of duties is for those who don't know what it is?
So basically what it means is throughout the entire year, no one person does something that overlaps with what someone else should be doing. So for example, if you sold cupcakes and the person who made the cupcakes bought the ingredients for the cupcakes, sold the cupcakes and received the money for them, and then deposited the money. So basically you don't want someone who is collecting the money to deposit the money and record the transaction, because it's clearly with actual cash transactions, it's a lot easier for them to just say, oh, I didn't sell any cupcakes, but they did, and they pocketed the money themselves. Since they're doing all the duties themselves, there's less oversight, and there's a higher risk of fraud. But with that said, since the county commission is basically your largest funder, I think you would know if those funds didn't get deposited into the bank account because payroll, or not necessarily payroll since it's paid by them. But if other expenses weren't getting paid, you would be like, oh, well, we got all this money from the county commission. What happened to it? Where you would quickly learn and figure out that it wasn't there. And then on the flip side, kind of invoices being paid, or procurement of contracts. Clearly, you know, if there was you kept looking and, you know, Edwin started paying to Edwin LLC, you know, recurring every month, like $1,000 for marketing, she would have that ability to do that if there wasn't oversight, because no one else is looking at what the invoices are that are getting approved to pay. So that's essentially what the segregation of duties would be. Any other questions on that? So getting into the meat of the financials, clearly the cash position is very strong, with $860,000 at the year end June 30, 2023. The actual fixed assets aren't that drastic, because most of the money is in, from a capital perspective, is in land and land development costs. We've been doing this for a couple of years, and clearly the lots are slowly being sold and the debt is being paid off. And all the debt is deferred until it's sold or leased. And clearly those balances are relatively high, as the accrued interest and the notes payable on the lots is higher than the actual land and development costs. But with the strong cash position, you can make up that shortfall. Clearly, when you go to the profit and loss, the largest from the profit and loss, clearly Jefferson County Commission provided $393,000 of support for FY23. There were a couple small grants that came in, about $66,000, but clearly most of the money is from the county commission. And clearly the largest expense is also salaries. So if the county commission just stopped deciding to fund you, there would probably be some shortfalls. But with that said, you have a strong cash position to be able to overcome that in the short term. There's a slight loss on, I think there were 2 or 3 lot sales last year. There's a loss on selling them of about $40,000 overall. That's pretty much the big things that happened in FY23. The rest of the notes are supplemental stuff that provide more detail. The only other thing that I'll mention is technically you guys adopted the new GASB 96, which is for subscription-based stuff, which really wasn't applicable to you guys, which is fine, but it's basically a new GASB of how you record if you had internal developed software, and how you would show the expense and stuff of that. But basically, we just noted that you adopted it and there was no change of the financial statements because of the adoption. And that was pretty much the big information there. As I mentioned, the notes are deferred. And that was pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, could somebody, whether it's Ferrari or someone on the board, give me some context on the history of this property, why we own it and why we're selling lots?
After the meeting, but,
After
Yeah.
the meeting's fine.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
are there any other questions? Well, just to give you some background on why we do an audit, it's required annually. So we do it annually, and I think there's been some concern in the community that we need to be audited. And I agree, we are audited annually. So in an effort to kind of get ahead of the transparency of this, we'll go ahead and pop this audit online now that it's all done and submitted and presented so that everyone can see our audit. Todd or Chris, if you were on, I think we're ready to move on to the next one. So thank you so much for presenting on the
No
audit.
problem. Thank you.
Is Chris on? You ready to take over, Chris? Or
You can keep going, Todd. I'm having some trouble here. Sorry about that.
okay. Next is approval of December's meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read through them? Any questions? Anything anybody would like to fix?
That's Neil. I'll move for approval.
And get a second?
I'll second.
It's Liz Ricketts. And everybody who wants to approve it, can I get a okay?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, looks like the minutes have been approved. Up next is the treasurer report. I guess that's me. There's not a whole lot to report. There wasn't anything big that stands out. Only I'll point out what I pointed out at executive meeting is that we ended the year in the black for a change. So we our staff deserve some kudos.
So what Todd is telling you is we were something like $39,000 in the red at this point last year. So pulling from sweeps, and we are 5,000 in the black. So a roughly $45,000 change in operations
work.
between last year and this year.
So what was the leading factor for that?
Having a budget, sticking to a budget.
I love it.
Yeah, and a good staff to do that. So, okay, on to, oh, I guess I need a approval of the treasurer's report.
We'll move to approve the treasurer's report.
Can I
I'll
get a
second.
second? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay. On the committee's report, executive committee, I guess that would be me. It was one of the shortest meetings we've ever had. We just talked a little bit about the Ready Sites program, and that was pretty much it. Ag, we didn't have a meeting, we didn't have a quorum. Business development, is there anybody here for that?
Eddie couldn't join, but he, there was no BDM meeting. It was like the 27th of December, so they didn't meet.
Okay. G&L? James?
Hi there. Sorry, I was a little bit disconnected there for a second, but yeah, we met just last week for our monthly meeting and talked a bit about the status of the legislative proposals that we created and that Eddie's helping to kind of market them with our delegation. Most of that conversation was around the interest in supporting childcare one way or the other, including with this expansion of the tax credit program for build for employers and others to construct childcare facilities. We also talked about sort of got an update on the plans for our public conversation about childcare services, and Eddie's working on that, hopefully with Stubblefield Institute or another partner for this spring. And we also talked a bit about a proposed letter that we would send to the Public Service Commission about a proposal to reduce the impact of net metering. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, I think, at this meeting. Then finally, we talked about plans where Eddie and staff are going to meet with Shepherdstown leaders on February 1st to talk with them about some ways that JCDA could assist them in supporting their downtown businesses. As you've heard us talk about this a few times, the JCDA has been focusing more on the larger communities, and we want to make sure they focus on smaller ones too, including Shepherdstown. So that's what's going to happen on February 1st. I think that's it. Eddie, if I forgot something, please chime in. Thanks.
I hope you did a good job.
All right, budget and finance didn't meet. Thank you, James. Old business, there isn't any. On to new business. 10A is consideration of request for proposals to develop a rural economic development strategy, discussion, and possible action.
So to give you some background on that, you know that we've been working a lot on vineyards and wineries, and there has definitely been pushback from various entities to say, oh, you can't grow grapes in West Virginia. So we worked with Extension. They're like, no, you can grow grapes. And they said, okay, well, you can only grow trash grapes. So then we go back to Extension and say, well, can we grow good grapes, or is this only just like ornamental? And they say, oh, you can grow great grapes. And I said, okay, well, can you prove it to me? And so they are working on a white paper, and we're kind of going back and forth with some of the economic information we have and the agricultural information they have. So they're bringing in climate, topography, soil types, pH levels. So they're doing all of that kind of nerdy stuff. We're bringing in all the labor statistics and stats on changes in tax values and tax returns on our side to just talk about the agricultural and economic impact. And then, you know, we also did something similar about meat processors. And so we're trying to put together a rural economic development strategy. And this is something that Loudoun County did as their first step in encouraging change, where in the 90s, they went from one historic vineyard to now the largest numbers of vineyards in all of Virginia. It's something like a $1.2 billion industry. It's significant. That didn't exist. And it all started as a way of preserving farmland. So they called their rural economic development strategy the 200,000 acre solution. And it was how to preserve 200,000 acres in farmland, either preservation or rural or agricultural production. And we don't have that many acres. I think it's around 56 or 57,000 acres that are currently in those same types. So it's kind of our 50,000 acre solution. So we can try to encourage this land to stay in agricultural production in a number of ways. And one of those is economically. What can we do to make farming economical? So we put together an RFP, and you'll see it in there. It's in your packet. It's to use things like this white paper that we're developing with Extension, to use our meat processors paper, and work on putting together a rural economic development strategy as a first step. So we would like to put out an RFP, so we basically know how much it costs. Then we can send it. There are kind of 3 sources of funding that we can then target to try to get it funded. But we need to know how much.
Okay, and anybody got any questions or anything they'd like to add?
We need funding for studies, aren't we?
It's to put together the strategy. Yeah.
What would be the timeline for that? How does that fit in with the conference?
So the timeline that we had was to have the strategy written by the end of 2024. So we would put out the RFP and then hopefully get it funded by the early spring. And then they have 6 months to do. It would require a lot of community engagement. Elizabeth, you're on here and I know that that's something, community engagement was pretty important to you. And so you'll see that that's part of the RFP process, is that they need to have community engagement. And so 6 months to do that research, use our studies and the community engagement, and then draft that strategic plan. It should be in final by December 2024.
What's that
Complex,
RFP
roughly the
going-
same time period.
Chris, you had
Chris, go ahead.
something?
What's the RFP going towards? Are we hiring like an outside person to do those studies, or what's the funding going towards?
Yeah, so the RFP would be a request for proposals from different consultants. So we've targeted, we started to try to make a list of people who have done similar strategies, including the group who wrote the 200,000 acre solution, because that way they have an idea of kind of the direction that we're going. So if they come back and it's $50,000 to do it, then we will go to the sources of funding that are roughly in that $50,000 range to try to get it funded.
And
All right, perfect. Thank
you
you.
need a vote for this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve this RFP?
Motion to approve RFP.
And
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, looks like it passes. Eddie, you got your approval on that.
Awesome. Then we'll get that solicitation out and try to get some responses back.
Cool. Moving on, approval of 2024 meetings calendar. Everybody get a chance to look at the calendar? And all the dates.
So there are a couple dates that we need help on because they happen on holidays. So I'm scrolling down to those.
James.
Anna did a great job of pulling these up, and so they should be highlighted. I'm at ways down your packet.
Yeah.
We did.
James, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to, look to me like the meetings are all sort of follow the same format, same cadence that we have for this year. Is that right? Is something changing about this, or are you just memorializing what we've been doing?
So usually we should approve these so that they're posted for the year. We're following the same, you can see at the top that I think it's under our bylaws, we've set out ag is the first Wednesday, exec is the second Tuesday, GLA is the second Thursday, board of directors is third Tuesday, and then business development is the fourth Wednesday. Taking that into consideration, those are the dates that they would fall on. The first one of concern is June 18th, which is Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday for the full board meeting. So do we want to move it back a week, forward a week? And then we can go on to the next one. If we move it back a week,
That bumps into the executive session, doesn't it? So
yeah.
actually,
What?
it says January 13th in the June GNL meeting.
Hold on. What are we looking for here?
So the highlighted dates are the dates that fall on a holiday. So we need to figure out where to move them to. Do you want to move that one back a week? June 18th?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, that would move it to the 11th. That's the same time as the executive committee.
So
Yeah.
if we go the other direction, then it's the 25th.
Do we have to move it?
Can we say it again? Brian?
Do we have to move the date?
If we don't move the date, then we just have me running the show and not the anyone else. So I would recommend not holding it on a federal holiday.
All right, so
So, all right, so the issue with moving it up or moving it back to the 11th would be that it falls in the executive committee. So can we just move that day to the following day or prior to? Right? So if we move it back, can we just not have, we can move the committee meeting as well.
well, that sounds,
Well, the committee meeting can meet right after
Or yeah, or
the board
right after.
meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not gonna conflict.
So we're looking at moving the June 18th full board meeting to June 11th. Do we want to move exec up to 2 o'clock and then hold the full board at 3?
good, yeah. I would probably
Yeah,
work.
let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other conflict here? Looks like October.
Yep, October 15th. And that's again for the full board meeting. Do you want to do the same thing? Move it back to the executive board and move the executive board an hour earlier?
Yeah, let's do the same thing. Everybody good with that?
What holidays the 15th?
On the 15th,
Columbus
Day,
Yeah.
14th.
The Columbus Day?
Is that still a federal holiday? I don't even think that's a federal holiday anymore, is it?
I think it's recognized by the state. I didn't grow up with Columbus Day, so I don't think it's federal.
Okay. But
Okay.
the office is gonna be closed that day, I guess.
And I think that this is not a holiday. Anna, if you're on here, what, do you know why this one was
Yeah, that's a Tuesday. Yeah.
highlighted?
Columbus Day is usually done on a Monday.
Yeah, I see Monday for this one. I don't see why this one is on there, so. Yeah, I think it's not a conflict.
I believe when Anna and I reviewed it, it was if the meeting bumped up against a holiday in case people would, take a day off to get an extra day on the long weekend. So it was just highlighted as a precaution for review.
Okay,
I don't think we need
I
to
say
change that.
disregard that one.
Right. And what's the next one?
So the next one is the 27th, November 27th. Which is
the 28th this year.
yeah. So that, because that's the end of the day, I guess. On the Wednesday, do you want to keep that one the Wednesday before Thanksgiving on Thursday on the 28th?
It probably should be moved, I guess.
No.
Wednesday
not-
before
he's not in there.
Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
That's just a committee meeting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a committee meeting. So do we want to cancel it, move it a week back?
Let's move it a week back.
Yeah.
The on the 20th.
And it looks like the same thing in December.
It's like with board. It's the board meeting on the 20th as well, November.
No,
No,
the
I
board
think they,
meeting
I
is
think
on
they
the
should meet
19th,
on, I think they
sorry.
should meet on
19th.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Little eggnog, everybody be happy.
Right?
I
Right.
need an excuse to get away from the kids.
So, and then move that one to the 18th. So everything would be in here as it is presented, minus June 11th would be an exec board meeting at 2 p.m., a full board meeting at 3. November 27th would move to the 20th for BDM, and December 25th would move to the 18th for BDM.
Right.
So then a motion to approve if you've got it, Todd.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve these dates?
So move.
That from Chris Puller, a second.
Second,
Brian Jones, all in favor?
aye.
Anybody against? Looks like we're good. All right, you got that, Eddie? We're ready to move on? All right, next up, C, committee actions. Removal of Commissioner Stauffer from committees discussion. I think that's, I don't think we need a lot of discussion that he's just stepping off, right? So do we need a vote on that?
I would assume so. Otherwise, he remains as a citizen on those committees. I don't think he's
Okay.
planning to attend.
Can I get a motion to remove Steve?
Yeah, so move.
Okay, that's Chris Fuller.
Could I ask a question? Could I ask a question there, Todd?
Sure.
So Eddie, is he still a member of the board?
Technically, yeah, just a non-voting member at this point.
So the commission did not remove him? They just added a new person? You
Uh,
think?
no, I guess they did remove him, but he still remains as a member of this committee of his committees until he's removed from those committees.
Oh,
Because you can be a member of the committee, a non-voting member of committees, even if you're not a member of the full board.
got it. Thanks.
And so that was news to me too. I called Eddie this morning about that. I saw it on the agenda. So I guess the commission appoints a representative to individual boards, correct? Right? So he served, how long did he serve on this board?
A year.
Maybe a year, right? And
believe
Yeah, at least.
you appoint another commissioner, right? Each year. Is that how it works, Eddie? Can you like give us a little background on that?
Yeah, the commission decides among themselves who is going to sit on each board. And this year, we got Commissioner Majdi.
Right.
So it's new
Well,
every January.
That's
Yeah.
for the full board. The committees are a little different, like. 'cause
So we
I-
have
So
citizens.
that's the other thing. So is he now, can he be on a committee and not on the board?
Yeah,
Yes,
so we have citizens that sit on committees as advisors. So they're non-voting members. But we have, and so you can scroll down to the page on committees and you'll see, especially on ag, we have several people who are engaged
Okay, yeah.
from the
All right.
committee. So I have a motion from Chris. Do we have a second or?
Well, can I ask another question then? Did Steve ask to be removed?
No?
I just think that's a, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
so-
that we need to ask. I just think that's, if you're being really technical, then we need a process for that in the future, if you ask me. But,
I think that's what the commission though, that is, so they handle that on their own, right? Aside from the board, from the JCDA. Right, so they appoint someone to the JCDA to be a voting member. And it's handled on the commission level. Is that what you, Eddie, is that what you're understanding as well?
Yeah, and so we have like some old committees that we need to clean up. Like we still have Sean on committees and he hasn't been on the board for a while, but that's just that's the membership until we change the membership. So right now we have Steve on several committees until we change that membership.
And
Yes,
does it
I think
have,
that's
does it have
right,
to
and
change
I
every
also
year?
think that the commission is silent as to which commissioner sits on committees of the JC. It only speaks to who will be the liaison to the board.
Right, yeah.
So should we ask Steve, he still wants to participate on that committee or?
I don't know. I didn't mean to raise a huge issue. I just was trying to think about what's the process for other people, by the way. I mean, these other people you say are advisors on other committees. how do they know when their term ends? I don't, do you know what I mean? That's all I was trying to raise and.
Oh, no, I mean, good questions because that was new to me as well. And Eddie cleared it up for me this morning. So no, those are definitely good questions.
Yeah. I don't know, where you guys, I mean, we have a motion. Somebody want a second or what do you guys want to do?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So Steve has been removed from the committees.
So you have the list of the committees there, and now the next is what you want to do about budget and finance, strategic plan committee, and the audit committee, because those are the ad hoc committees that we have. Budget and finance hasn't met for quite a while. We have bylaws that still needs to meet. That one I would recommend keeping. Strategic planning is the one that has Sean and James on it, which would now just mean James, and then the audit committee. So the audit's complete, so I think that you can go ahead and get rid of that that ad hoc committee. Strategic planning, you may want to change the membership of that if you want to keep it. But it's not one that's it's not one that's met the entire time I've been here. And the same thing with budget and finance. That one hasn't met since I've been here.
So I had one thing about the strategic planning committee that was formed during a time when we were doing strategic planning. And it was, we had a consultant that helped us think through different issues, kind of like the consultant that we're going to hire for the rural development work. And there was sort of this need to have some board members in certain meetings dealing with that consultant. That's what that was. And it has not met since then.
Is it one that you still need, James?
I would think that we could, it'd be an ad hoc thing that was needed for that purpose. But I do think it's helpful maybe for the executive committee to think about strategic planning, as part of its work.
I felt like we kind of captured that as a full board, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we need this.
In the audit committee, we only need it when we're going through the audit, right? So
what does the audit committee do?
The audit committee just evaluates the RFP responses that we received. It's required by the state auditor that you go through a review process. So there's like a one-pager that you complete. This is the name of the person, the number of years that they've done auditing, that they've done they've done governmental auditing in the past. Then you look at their response to, and you grade them on a scale of which.
So that brings up another point, and I'm sure you have more experience with this than I do. What is the consideration to accept an RFP? Obviously, it's going to be a best deal, right? But as far as putting it out there and accepting, like what are you going off of for that?
On the audit?
No, just for the
Any
RFP.
RFP? So usually within the RFP, you should be able to have, like if you scroll back up, and I'm not gonna do that because I'll lose this page for sure, but there's a chart of how many points that you'll get in each category. So it's like experience in rural development, strategic planning, writing. So if someone says, I've never written a strategic plan before, a rural development strategic plan before, but I think I have the skills to do it. So what is your experience? 0. So 0 out of 10. So there's usually a score sheet on an RFP, and that's how each should be judged, just based upon the score sheet that's within the RFP.
Okay.
So,
But it sounds like that is something we would do annually for the audit, or we were hiring the auditor. Is that? sort of like an ad hoc thing that would be needed only certain times?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and this, we won't have that committee again because we had an RFP to do it for 2 years. So now, next year, we won't review potential auditors next year. It was pretty difficult to get a response to this RFP. It wasn't like we received 48. We only received 1, so tried to make this process a little bit easier, and the state auditor allows for a 2-year contract, so we have a 2-year contract.
So we could probably do away with that one until we need it again in 2 years.
Yeah, and then just reconvene it when you need.
Right. And same with the strategic plan committee, we can roll that into something that the executive committee discusses, and we're probably not gonna do another strategic plan for a couple more years, right? So. So do
And
we
then the
need,
other is budget and finance. Did you want to keep the budget and finance committee?
yeah, probably, we should probably actually meet with that one at some point this year.
Who's the chair for that?
Me.
Todd?
But it's never met as long as I've been on this board.
So is there information? Well, obviously I mean, that's a big committee. So we should probably schedule, how often, what's your goal as far as meeting, Todd?
Well, eventually, basically just once a year to look at the budget. That's what I was thinking of it. And that was about it. Because we meet pretty regular with the accountants and that kind of stuff. So
So does this committee dictate salaries for staff?
no, my understanding before I got here, it was just had to do with the yearly budget. But I don't know.
So Eddie, as far as like salaries and things like that, where do you get your budget? For your
So I have it from the county, and the county gives me, through the budget process, we have 3 line items on the budget, so we're fairly easy. We have salaries and benefits line. We have a rent line that we can't control. The rent is set for us by the county at it's like 37,000, and then an operations line. And I want to say it's 109,000, but if you go to the budget, it'll tell you exactly.
So it's from the county. So the county is pretty much your budget and finance committee then.
Well, so like internally, at the end of the fiscal year is when we need to do the staff reviews. And so at the end of the year, we can review, and then I can have it. I can give them a promotion, a merit increase of up to 5%. And that has to be within my budget. So I can't go beyond what is budgeted. So did that answer your question, Chris, or just completely blow by it?
No, well,
The budgeted
kind
amount,
of.
and then there's an actual amount that I pull out, right? And I
So,
need
all
to
right,
stay
so
at-
what I'm trying to back into is the need for a budget and finance committee. Like what is the task that they would be tasked with,
Hey, can I add in? something
Yeah,
there,
James.
Chris?
James has something.
Well, so the thing about it is that I think that it's helpful to have that committee if we actually use it. And, it's not, because if we were to, just do a budget and do a, pull it together in terms of what would we request from the county and what we would use in our own resources or get from other places, it'd be helpful to have that guideline, right? So, I think in the past, it hasn't been that proactive. It's just been acknowledging that the county is considering a certain amount, and we kind of fill out forms in order to have a justification for the amount that the county wants to give us. But I think you could use it for suggesting other things, or for allocating certain money that we have, from our resources to certain activities like this RFP we just talked about. That's So I think it's helpful to have something like that if we use it for more than just responding to what the county suggests.
I feel like
So-
I feel like it's hard to grasp right now of having that committee because Eddie did such a fabulous job of budgeting this past year. From the time that she came on board, I felt like that was one of the things you focused on was the budget.
Yeah, and
Um,
when I drafted the budget, as I was drafting it, I brought it through all the committees. Because each committee has kind of their own plans, like the ag committee has its own idea of what needs to be funded. BDM has its own idea and exec has its own idea, GLA. And so we were able to kind of talk about all of those at the committee level before it percolated up to the full board. And then we've been reviewing it quarterly. So, if that works, awesome. We should be going through budget and not through those committees and then to the full board, we could do that too. There are various ways we could do this.
Okay, well, why don't we keep that and let's call a meeting here of it and just lay out what that committee does. So that, and just clear it all up. So it has a clear goal and definition of its duties.
Yeah, I mean, James's explanation was, I mean, that's spot on. That kind of changes just for me, my outlook on it. We do need that committee if we are making financial decisions in the future. We don't have to meet, 4 times a year. We can meet as much as we need to. But no, it cleared it up for me. I appreciate that, James.
When I was a little unclear when I was made treasurer, what that committee did, because it never met before, so.
because you're such a great treasurer.
Thanks, man, I appreciate that. But I think going forward, it might be good to have that just to set a standard, so, I'm not gonna be treasurer forever, hopefully. So that we have, a definition of what that does moving forward. James, do you still have a question?
So no, I don't. Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
All right, so it sounds like we want to keep the budget and finance and not the strategic plan committee and the audit committee. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, do we need a
make a
vote?
motion. I make a motion that we maintain the budget and finance ad hoc committee, but we remove strategic plan and audit committees unless needed in the future.
Second.
Okay.
Mary Catherine, you can't make a motion if you're not on camera.
There I am.
I'll plan.
All right. All right, everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays to this? All right, looks like that passed unanimously. All right. On to appointment of Commissioner Majdi to committees. Maybe we should ask him what committee he wants to be on.
For me,
Budget and
the
finance.
challenging aspect is scheduling. I have a few other that I'm gazing with on behalf of the commission. So if we can try and keep the burden as low as possible, that'd be great. And Wednesdays are particularly tough for me, so that's when I try to schedule most of my work for my day job and for my day job.
Okay.
These are the schedules. So the first Wednesday sounds like, so that's ag. Would be out and BDM. So then that leaves you with executive committee. And the GLA committee is the second Thursday at 7 p.m.
You want GNL? I mean, you're part of the government, so
Yeah, I like it.
You can also pick one and then pick another one later. Try it out.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be Gmail, right? Because I'm already attending the board meeting. Executive committee I'm not on. The others are Wednesdays. So there you go, across the school nation.
Okay,
That would make the most sense because Steve would probably stop coming then, right?
okay. So,
And I noticed I wasn't on the committee either.
do we need a
I
motion
mean,
to
I'm on
have,
the committee, but I wasn't on the list.
was that Mary Catherine? What was that?
You're supposed to be on this one.
Yeah.
So Mary Catherine is also on business development, but I don't have her on this one, so she's on business development now.
So do we need a motion to get,
Commissioner Majdi on GLA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I make that motion.
Okay, James, there's a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Liz, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Marcy, you're on GNL committee.
Welcome.
All right, terrific.
All right. Moving on, consideration of letter to the Public Service Commission of West Virginia. Discussion and possible action.
James, do you want to take this one on since it was forwarded by your committee?
Sure, I'll start. So this is, the committee talked last week and voted to recommend that the board submit this letter to the Public Service Commission. I think it's in your packet. It's basically it's in opposition to a proposal that the Potomac Edison and another power company has before the Public Service Commission that would reduce the amount of funds that they would credit to homeowners that sell their solar power generated electricity to the electric company. And this is a bad thing from a lot of people's perspectives, and particularly there is a company in Shepherdstown that provides rooftop solar power equipment across the state in this county, but also in other parts of the state. And they're very concerned about this and have said that if this happens, it's going to have a huge impact on their business because it will make solar power equipment less attractive to homeowners. That's the way that it's more affordable because homeowners get a little bit of income by selling the excess energy to the electric company. And if the big electric companies are successful in getting the Public Service Commission to reduce the rate that they pay for that electricity, that would have a bad impact on these businesses. This one in Jefferson County, but also the businesses across the state. So this would be in opposition to that one part of their proposal. And as we heard last week from Wayne Clark, that electricity in this state is regulated by the Public Service Commission, not by the legislature, and the legislature has limited ability to sway what happens with electric companies and their rates. And so we're going to the PSC with this letter to encourage them to deny that one part of the proposal that the electric company has made.
Thank you, James. Any discussion? Anybody got anything behind you, Eddie?
Sure. Right. Have we engaged with the PSC before? What's the history of our communications or lobbying, if you will, the Public Service Commission?
We haven't contacted them since I've been here. But anyone know, did we engage with regard to West Virginia American Water?
No, we did not.
I don't think so, no.
We have engaged with the legislature with certain proposals, and Eddie has sent notes directly to the electric companies and elected officials about the electrical companies' issues, the way that they do certain things. So while we haven't, as far as I know, communicated with the PSC, we have used letters to encourage, share information about our priorities.
Great. And does Potomac Edison have a government relations rep who's met with folks in the Eastern Panhandle about this? How did that go?
They have a different idea about, I think I've just met with them about community solar. They met with me about a different issue, but then brought up community solar. And they don't agree with this.
This is not community solar, right?
Correct.
Community
So-
solar is different from this. This is
Yeah, that's where I
about
think
just,
I'm confused. That's where I'm confused because we were talking about the connectivity and how it discourages because the general Joe Q can't get connected, but now we're talking about connection. I'm not opposed, I'm just,
I think it's a
okay,
separate
we'll-
issue.
We'll figure it out, but yeah, I'm like, all right. How do they sell? Because I thought West Virginia didn't do that, so, connecting individuals.
Yeah, well,
Another longer conversation later.
this is about how much they get paid, because I know several people that
I
have,
get that.
solar, and they get, what, credits or something. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that works, but, and this just cuts into what they get, right?
right. There's a rate that the PSC requires electric companies to pay people who have solar power on their roofs or in their yards for the amount of electricity that they sell back to the electric company. Sometimes people who have solar on their roof or in their yards produce more power than they use, and so they're able to sell that excess power back to the electric company. But the PSC requires the electric company to pay them a certain amount. It's called a credit, I believe. It's a credit on their bill. It's not really a payment.
Okay.
But this is what the electric company is trying to reduce, and that's why the employers here in this company here in Jefferson County that does work providing solar panels for people's roofs, and in this county and other parts of the state have asked us to help them in opposing this request because it's going to affect their business. It's going to reduce their ability to employ people, and they say it will affect the economy of the state across the state. So
Who has asked us? I couldn't hear you.
Solar Holler is the name of the company.
So
That's the Shepherdstown company, is that correct?
It's based in Shepherdstown, yes. It does a lot of work in southern West Virginia as well as here.
I'd be curious to see the total numbers, as far as spending our wheels on, going up against a federal entity based upon how many households in Jefferson County.
It's not a federal entity, it's a state government entity.
But isn't Potomac Edison federal?
It does business in this state.
It's a regional regulated utility. It's not
Right.
it's not from the government, but you
Okay.
could say it's quasi-governmental because it's so regulated.
So all we're doing is sending a letter to
This is to the PSC, right? It's not to the legislature.
I mean, yeah, sorry.
But thanks for the background. May I suggest that you change the last line to "thank you for your consideration" or to just cut it there? And my question is, who would be signing it?
Eddie, I don't know what the protocol is for these letters. You have done several. Can you tell us?
So it depends on how, this one, I think because it's been spearheaded by you, James, I think you and Gino would be good. You as the chair of the legislative affairs and Gino is the chair of the board, if that's the direction of the board.
That sounds good to me.
Who has signed other letters?
James, do you have solar panels?
No, I do not.
I was gonna say, if you did, I wouldn't sign it.
I'm mostly concerned about, I actually am mostly concerned about jobs here. And I think that, you know, what I've been told is that this will create, reduce the demand for this type of work. And this will reduce jobs here.
Probably reduces the incentive. for
Because you're
other-
not gonna have the retail, I mean, it's not as attractive for the consumer to purchase the product. If you
That's
can't
right.
get as much. So, I mean, that's where it gets down.
Right.
Not selling as much.
If you can't,
Right.
if you can't get paid back for the electrons you give back to the grid, then you can't finance the solar project for your rooftop. Because it's based on how you get paid back over the next 15, 20 years.
Right. All right, so do you want to take the suggestion of changing that last line?
I think we have a motion to do that. Because I think that, is that what we have to do, Eddie, is to have a motion to make adjustments? I think we should, either way, we should find a way to be able to edit this.
So
But-
first you want to just, I think, have a motion to send it on to the PSC. And then you can have any amendments to, or a motion if you want to have a different closing line, that's fine.
Okay,
You may not want to also include like the case number in here. So,
Yeah, and I would also suggest humbly, it doesn't need to be a motion. That you include, if you have a signature, then you also include your contact information and offer to meet with them for a detailed discussion.
so your motion could be to do a final review of this, including the case number, and we'll put it on letterhead and have signatory lines, who you want for the signatories, that kind of thing, and we can include something on there that we can meet with them should they have any questions.
I think it's a great idea.
okay. Can I get a motion that says all that from somebody?
I'll move that we do that. That we rely on staff to shape up the letter.
Okay. And can I get a second?
Second,
All right. So Eddie, you got all that?
So just to make sure I'm clear, it's shape up and send. Not bring it back to the board.
Right. All right, all right. All in favor?
Alright.
I,
Anybody opposed? I don't see any opposition, so I think we're good. All right. On to next thing is executive sessions. So can I get a
So-
motion? What's that?
So just to let you know what happens next, if there is a motion and second you vote to go into executive session, is we'll pop everybody into a little breakout room. And then you can come back for the director's report, which I don't think there's gonna be much members' comments and adjournment. Or you're welcome to sign off if you feel that's what you wanna do.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Are we expecting action?
Only after the executive session, we won't take any action in the executive session.
Okay. And Pasha, did you?
I made the motion.
Oh, Chris, okay. And it's second, who seconded?
Second.
Okay, Brian, all in favor?
I,
All right. Okay, we are in executive session. Can we stop the recording?
I gotta move people into
Okay.